Good morning, Milwaukee. Bobby Tangelo here from OnMilwaukee.com. I'm here in historic Cedarburg today. You can see behind me Cedar Creek Settlement. There's Maxwell's, one of my favorite buildings. I'm going to turn this around so you can see. We're just going to walk sort of the Washington Avenue Historic District, which starts up here on Bridge Street. And Cedarburg, the earliest known settlers here were mound builders, native peoples who built mounds along Cedar Creek. And then by the time Europeans arrived in the early 19th century, this was home to groups of Potawatomi and Sauk Indians, Native Americans. And the earliest people who came were from Ireland, from Europeans who came were from Ireland. They called this place New Dublin, but that didn't last long because there were loads of German immigrants who then came, and it really became sort of a Germanic place. Really the first settler, I stand corrected, the first settler was a German, but there were lots of Irish nearby, but that quickly changed as Ludwig Groth was joined by many of his fellow Germans. Then in 1843, a grist mill was built. We'll pass the site of that a little further along. And then that was replaced in 1855. Oh, here's this Maxwell's building. Look how cool that is. Those great windows. Look at all that masonry. Isn't that incredible? 1888. I love that masonry above that arched window right there. It looks like brick rays of sunshine. So that grist mill was rebuilt in 1855 with a building that is in fact still there today. It's got a brewery in it. We'll go by there in a little while. But behind me, that Cedar Creek settlement, was a woolen mill that was built in the 1860s. And believe it or not, that was the largest woolen mill in the country east of Philadelphia at that point. So that's pretty amazing. 1885 is when Cedarburg is officially incorporated, but you can tell from a lot of these houses, many of which are stores and offices now, but some are still homes. Just amazing stuff. I love that one across the street there that I'll show you when we get a little closer. It's like half timbered. But loads of the buildings that you see here today were built in the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s. So this whole strip was landmarked as a historic district. Cedarburg Art Museum, look at that place. Beautiful Victorian with a turret. Look at that window. That's an unusual gabled window like that in the turret cap. Oh yeah, there's that half timbered place over there. So loads of shops and offices and things like that in here now. And on a nice warm day, I mean, it's pretty nice out today, but it's a little chilly. Nice warm day. This is, especially on a weekend, this is packed with people shopping. Hey, look at these places. Just beautiful. So Cedarburg, of course, home to the Maxwell Street days, a little further north of where I am now. Great antique markets up there. There's often a strawberry festival most years, but this year I'm not sure whether or not that's going on. Did I pass? Oh no, I did not yet pass the pizza place. Look at that gorgeous Cream City brick. Stunning. And really, you don't even have to stay on Washington Avenue to see beautiful houses in Cedarburg. Nice Cream City brick church down there. Even if you go out on the country roads, you can see stone farmhouses, barns, silos. And then on all the side streets around here, you'll find really nice. Sometimes they're more recent places, but often there are 19th century houses sprinkled in. Here's one of my favorite Cedarburg buildings. Well, two of them actually next to each other. We might deviate slightly so you can see them both. This is the high school, which was built in 1908. And behind it, it's now the city hall. Behind it, kind of tucked away, I want you to be able to see the tower, is the 1894 Lincoln School. These were both designed by a local architect named William Hilgen, who was the son of one of the early mill founders. The guy who founded the first mill here was Frederick Hilgen. Yeah, there's the 1908 stone. And he started the mill with a William Schroeder, or Schrader, depending on how you say that. And his son, William Hilgen, designed these. Look at that one. Isn't that just beautiful? The symmetry of those two wings, that central bay with that gorgeous tower. That is now the Cedarburg Senior Center. Someday I want to come back and get a tour of that. And its matching younger sibling here, the City Hall. All right, let's go back. So the historic district is really only about 5 blocks long. But there's plenty to see. I'm going kind of quickly here, but there's loads to see. Look at that beautiful church over there. It's got a really great stained glass window that you can actually see really well from the outside. I feel like the colors of the central panels feel very sort of Tiffany-ish, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head whether or not that is a Tiffany window, and I can't tell from how it's signed. Often in the bottom right, you'll see a panel that has a signature. That is the English Lutheran Church, Advent Lutheran Church. So somebody with access to the Google could find out if that's a Tiffany window, although I suspect it's probably not. All right, we're moving forward. Off to the left, you can see the old interurban bridge that's been fixed up and is now a pedestrian bridge over the creek, Cedar Creek. And that's where the interurban train used to run, come up from Milwaukee, and I believe it continued all the way on to at least Sheboygan. Can you imagine back in the day you could hop on a train, go from Milwaukee to Sheboygan? Loads of other places too. When I was down in Burlington, oh, I wish you could smell that. I love Sal's. Have you been to Sal's? Sal's Pizza by the Slice. I wish you could smell it. It's all to carry out. How you doing? Good. Smells great in here today. Love Sal's. Love Sal's. All right. What the heck was I talking about? Oh yeah, so I was in Burlington going to a brewery that's in an old interurban train station. So you could go down that way too. You could go through, and a bit of that section survives as the East Troy Railway. Well, look at this. You see like a clapboard house, like a late 19th century house like this. And then look at this wing. This great stone addition here. Although who knows, maybe that's the original house and that's the addition, which is probably more likely actually. This is the Kufus House Museum from 1849. Look at that, 1849, folks. That's Cedarburg for you. But of course, it's got all mod cons. US Bank. There's candy stores, there's toy stores, there's clothing stores, jewelry stores. Here's Fiddlehead's Coffee, which recently opened a location downtown Milwaukee, right next to the Cedarburg Coffee Roastery, which has above average coffee. Let's cross here, because there's a cluster of folks there and I'm not wearing my mask so that you can hear me. Here's a Penzie Spices. There's the Creamy Pig. I'm going to let you figure out for yourself what that is. There's the North 48 Bar and Lounge. And again, we're like sort of right in the heart now of, I mean, we were before, but this is the heart of that historic district. We're sort of smack dab in the middle. Tons of great Cream City brick places, stone places along here. We're going to pass the Handon Distillery in a second. There are wrote a story about Handon last year. I think it was last year. I don't know. All of last year is such a blur. I think it was very early in the year, just before the outbreak, or just kind of when it started. Boulangerie du Monde, I'll be back for a baguette later. So here's really the heart of Cedarburg. Look at that gorgeous arched window. So this has been on the National Register of this district since 1986. There you can see the Washington House. I'll get across the street, I'll tell you about that. Actually, first, let's look over here. There's that woolen mill I was talking about. That's the site of the, not the woolen mill, the grist mill, the site of the original grist mill. And then this is the replacement that you can see here. Across the street is the visitor center for Cedarburg, as well as the Cedarburg History Museum, which is home to the collection from the Chudnow Museum, which had been near Marquette in Milwaukee, and closed last year and moved its collection up here to the History Museum. And just peeking up over the top of that is one of the most beautiful firehouse towers you'll see in the area. I don't know if you can see it in there. Try and zoom in. See that? Lovely. Another great one is not far down the road in Thiensville. So there's the grist mill from, that's the replacement one from 1855. In front of that is a ever more rare Alexander Eschweiler designed Pagoda Wadham's gas station. There used to be a bunch, but now there are very few. This is perhaps the best. This is the biggest one I've ever seen. And I think it might be the nicest. All right, so we're going to go back to Washington Avenue, talk a little bit about the Washington Inn. Washington House Inn. This building is from 1886, although it was founded 40 years before. No, wait, yeah, 40 years before that. 1846. But you can tell from looking at this building, this is not an 1840s building, although it is gorgeous, stunning. With some great Romanesque elements, great masonry. There's the Rivoli Theater, which, as you can see, is a bunch of buildings connected. But that has an interesting history. Back to, I believe, to the 1850s, when it was a dry goods store. Then in the 30s, it became a movie theater. Had an Art Deco facade, which over the years got changed out to sort of a modern 60s, 70s facade. And then about 10 years ago, Kubala Washatko was hired to return the facade to a gorgeous Art Deco facade, which you can see there. And last year they announced, 2019, they announced that they were going to be a new venue for the Milwaukee Film Festival, which is pretty nice. And then everything went south. All right, we're still, speaking of going south, that's where we're going. And here, this block, I love this block because it has two fabulous Blatz signs. There's one at the 1883 Union House. Yeah, can you see that sign over there? Gorgeous neon sign. And then there's a variation on that theme over here, directly across the street. Check this out. Another great Blatz sign right there. So this was Bob Guzzi's Marine Bar here. This is a much older building. This is 1855. Okay, heading south, here's the Cedarburg Cultural Center, which has tons of great programming most years. I'm not sure what the status is at the moment. I know that they've been doing some online stuff. I think they're doing some, actually you can probably get a better version of what you're getting right now if you pay for the Architectural Treasures Tour with the Cedarburg Cultural Center. That's probably pretty awesome. Saturday, May 15th, Sunday, May 16th, noon to 3. Tickets $10. How can you go wrong? Supporting a great Cedarburg nonprofit. Again, everywhere you look along here, there's some new stuff, but there's some great vintage buildings. Coming down to Mill Street. And if you see, we're gonna stop when we get to the church at the end of the street down there. You can't complain about Cedarburg having some modern buildings mixed in here, but it would be lovely to walk down the street before all this stuff was built to see what it replaced. But there's so much great stuff here to see as it is already. We can hardly complain. We're coming up to the Stagecoach Inn, which is from 1853. Right there. It's a bed and breakfast. It's got a pub inside of it. Again, this great stone construction, stone and mortar. And you see these kinds of buildings all over Cedarburg. Got a cool old diner facade on PJ Piper's Pancake House. Look at that. All right, Emmanuel Lutheran coming up here on the left. Built in 1882. He replaced an earlier church on the site. And boy, look at that. The building in the back. Let's go check that out. I wonder if that's earlier or later. It's interesting stone construction, but it looks like it might be later, trying to match the building a little bit. Yeah, that would be my guess. Oh yeah, there's a modern addition back there too. That's a pretty church, pretty stone church. You can see a brick chimney. Interestingly, a different stone in the tower than in the body of the church, which makes me wonder if the tower was put on later. In normal times, we could try and go inside, but I doubt they're letting people in at the moment. I'm not even going to attempt that German pronunciation there. Pretty rustic church. All right, and just up the street from the Lutherans, the German Lutherans were the Irish Catholics who built the St. Francis of Borgia Church. Again, out of stone. The classic Cedarburg stone. As we make our way there, that was built in 1870. It's Brandywine restaurant. Currently open for dining. And I would be remiss as a lover of frozen custard if I didn't tell you that there are two great places to have frozen custard in Cedarburg. One is just a few blocks south of here called Out and Out on the site of an old A&W stand. And then the other one is if you go back up to Columbia and go east a little bit across the creek, you'll find Hefner's, which makes a mean burger as well. So here's the St. Francis of Borgia. Somebody just came out. Should we see if we can go in? The first time ever ending a Facebook Live walk inside a church. Let's give it a try. But I have to put on my mask. So hold on, the camera may jiggle a bit while I'm moving around to put my mask on. Alright, here we go. Let's give it a whirl. I always love the steps up. Those lead to the tower. I'm being quiet because people are inside praying. All right, there you have it, folks. Our first Facebook Live Milwaukee Walks church visit. Very short. People were in there praying, so I didn't want to get in their way. Being contemplative, I didn't want to make a bunch of racket. Anyway, thanks for joining me in Cedarburg. I'm going to go off and do a story on a brewery now. You can watch for that probably next week. I leave you with this look at the beautiful exterior of St. Francis of Borgia Church. And come on out, get some custard at Hefner's, get a burger, or at Out and Out. Be safe, stay dry this weekend, and we will see you next week when we visit someplace I have not yet decided. If you have a suggestion, someplace you want me to walk, just looking north, by the way, back up Washington Avenue. Put it in the comments or send me an email, bobby@onmilwaukee.com, and I will definitely take it under advisement. Somebody suggested, I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was off the top of my head, but somebody had suggested this one. So this is I should call this a reader's choice. Milwaukee Walks. Thanks, Milwaukee. Stay safe. Talk to you soon. Bye.